Yeah, it's Cash. Get him. DJ Deuce McGuire, this hot as a log fire. Spark the lighter in the 303. We wrestle at the quarry. Golden, Colorado. Mercury Pro Wrestling Academy. Elevated wrestling. Yeah. Hashtag follow if you know the motto. Can't stop now. Got the need for speed. Combustion and concussion. Championships in my vision. I put the key in the ignition. Such an easy decision. I got a hustler's ambition. Wrestling at its best. Welcome to the show I put on for Rocky Mountain Pro. Let's go. Yeah, it's Cash.
RMP Radio is back on the air. Hi, this is Mr. Fourth Row, your host. And on this episode with me, I have the man of many hats and many talents. And that's Kelly Dowdy. Kelly, how are you doing?
I'm good, Artie. How you doing today?
I'm doing just fine. So, hey, let's, we haven't officially talked for a while, but let's talk about kind of what's been happening most recently, and that's you taking over the play-by-play commentary at the announce booth there for Rocky Mountain Pro and Charged. How's that been going?
It's been going good on my end. You'd have to ask the fans how they feel. Colin was such a great play-by-play guy, so it's kind of like trying to fill his shoes, but not necessarily trying to be another Colin.
Right.
And because he had such a great voice for it, and he was on the ball with a lot of things. So just trying to kind of, fill that seat well, but kind of give it my own little flavor.
Right. Yeah. And as far as I can tell, sitting on this side of the ropes or this side of the table, it sounds like to me that you've got a good working knowledge of, the basics, the play-by-play and that kind of stuff. Do you feel that, because you kind of also work behind the scenes and a lot of the production stuff, do you think that kind of helps you out a little bit about knowing the wrestlers and the talent and everything like that?
Definitely. A lot of the move names we joke about. I actually was having this conversation with Curtis 2 weeks ago, I think it was. His Blockbuster, we've always joked about how he just keeps calling it the Blockbuster and we need to figure out a move name. And just randomly on commentary, I yelled out, "It's over 9,000," because I know he's a big Dragon Ball fan, Naruto fan. So I was like, I'll just yell it out, see if it sticks. And he came back to me the next day. He's like, "That was the greatest call. Thank you so much." So just being able to know like their little ins and outs personally, it was a big help for me because I can tie little things, from their personal lives into their characters that some people wouldn't really get. Not only that, but our GM, Austin Reddick, he always makes the joke that, I've got an encyclopedic knowledge of this company, being here for almost 8 years. Right. So really nothing's really happened in this company that I don't know about and for some reason retain. But yeah, I know little things like that. And so that helps out a lot when it comes to, having to say something because you don't want the dead air. And, so just being able to just jump into a quick bit of knowledge that I had, I was like, oh yeah, I'll do this and I'll say this and hopefully it works.
Yeah, well that's cool. Do you think the fans are gonna get some of those inside things, or they're just kind of accept it as is, calling the moves these fancy names and things like that?
I think they'll get at least I'd say 90% of it. Anyone who's friends with Curtis or even follows him on social media knows how much of an anime fan he is. Yeah. So to hear me say something as meme worthy as over 9,000, that's going to register. And I definitely try to keep that in mind of like, okay, because contrary to popular belief, we do write notes. So I've got a list of notes with me on my computer at all times of like, I could mention that, but the fans probably won't get that one just because, it's an inside joke with the guys in the locker room. It's like, I can say it and I'll probably pop everyone in the back, but is it going to affect the overall show? And if it's going to affect it, I'm not going to say it.
Right. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Oh yeah. And so speaking of that, the first night that you sat down in the chair, were you nervous?
Oh, extremely. I did play-by-play probably, well, not even play-by-play, I'd say more color, a couple of years ago on a couple episodes of Charged with Lucas and Cormac. And so I was kind of used to that, but it was always, we did it in post, so it was in the studio, and I had my buddies around, we could throw things back and forth. But, doing it live, it was kind of, I didn't even expect to get put on the position. I did it one night at training when Colin was leaving. And I told Austin Reddick, I was like, hey man, I'd like to try it out, see what I do. And after the first one, I was kind of kicking myself, going, man, this isn't. I don't know if I did okay. And from what I was told, like him and Over Easy Stevie were both like, that's the guy. Like after the first match, like this is the guy that's going to do it now. And so that vote of confidence was great, but I'm sure I was pacing back and forth probably more than half the guys in the locker room before that episode, because I was nervous as could be.
Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So do you subscribe to the philosophy that the play-by-play has to be the proactive part of the conversation, and then kind of set up the color commentary to get in the little quips and stuff like that?
Yeah, yes and no. The play-by-play has to kind of lead it, but the color also has to provide enough that where if I have nothing to say, or if there's a lull in the action, I can't call it shinlock for a minute. It's you need something else. So, and that's their job to do. So it's a bit of a give and take, and especially depending on who you're with. When I was with Colin, it was kind of difficult because you kind of had two play-by-play guys.
Yeah.
Titus was definitely a good color, and so he and I were, and plus having that friendship for like 5 years, we were able to bounce off each other and kind of know each other's rhythm. With Stevie, we're still developing that, and he's not used to yet having to be on the fly as much. So that'll change as we go. And I know Stevie right now is a temporary replacement. I don't know if that's going to change anytime soon. I'm not really in charge of that. I really don't have my 2 cents in. But no, yeah, I mean, it's like you said, man, it's a give and take. So yeah, to me, it's more of a 60-40 game.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So, like you just said, Stevie just sat down in the color commentary, starting this week, and yeah, I've kind of gotten used to. I got used to him like when Twitch was getting all going with RMP. He was kind of more of, just kind of doing the proactive part, doing the little play-by-play, having the conversations with the Twitch audience and stuff like that. So it's kind of a little bit of change for him too to sit down in that color spot.
It is, yeah. He and I were talking about that, and even after the show, he was like, he said the same thing I said a lot of times, and Colin said to me before. He's like, it's one of those things of everyone thinks they can do it until it's time to put the headset on, and then you kind of get that deer in headlights for a minute, and you're like, oh no, this is actually happening. It took me about 2 or 3 episodes to kind of get out of that myself.
Oh yeah, and I feel the same way with my podcasting. I listened to the first ones I've done. I was like, oh, it don't sound like I flowed real well, and now I feel like I'm doing a lot better. That kind of thing. So it's just a little bit practice, repetition, muscle memory per se. That kind of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. So another thing that you do with Rocky Mountain Pro is you do a lot of the show flyers, show posters, things of that nature. Well, first question I was going to ask you, what does it feel like having your work on a billboard?
Oh, that yeah, that was different. No, you're talking about the devotion one, I'm assuming.
Yes.
So I talked with Manny about that. He sent me a message. I know we're going like, hey, can you do a billboard? I was like, I can do it. It's the question of what do you want on it and what are the dimensions. And once I got all that, it's like, oh yeah, I can do that. It didn't hit me until I saw the pictures. And then I was like, oh wow, thousands of people are seeing my work in another state. This is weird.
Yeah.
It was weird, but it was really cool at the same time.
So what information did you get that how it had to be different than like a flyer or a poster or thing like that? What was kind of the differences and things you had to keep in mind when you worked on it?
Not as much difference. Actually, it started out as the banner for DCW for their Facebook page, and Matthew Robles, who works with Manny in Devotion, he was kind of heading that up, and so he gave me a kind of list of like, make sure this is on it, make sure this is on it. You don't need to put this on it. So he just told me, he's like, make sure you got the date, the time, and the venue, and like their social media. You don't need the sponsors. You don't need all this extra stuff that you kind of need on a flyer to kind of just fill out space. So it was almost weird to me to not put as much information as I normally do on. But no, it wasn't much different than just doing a normal Facebook banner, because you kind of figure Facebook banners, that's what they are now, is essentially online billboards.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that difficult at all. It wasn't much different at all.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So when you are designing a flyer or a poster, that kind of stuff, what kind of things do you keep in mind, and do you get any kind of direction from, the head honchos to make sure you get this added in, or make sure you kind of convey this? What goes on with that process?
Yeah, I have a template I usually stick with when it comes to information. So like if you look at the Rocky Mountain Pro stuff, you'll see a lot of the same, the sponsors, or where the sponsors are always at, the ticket links, the information of the venue. You always see the live pro wrestling. So that's already set in motion and ready to go. I can change those out at any moment depending on the venue or where the tickets are going to be. And but when it comes to the actual posters, it's more of the TV show posters for Charged. It's more, I just talk to Reddick and I go, hey, give me the 3 people you want on it, and he'll tell me exactly who he wants, and I just, right now they're all, the Charged ones are kind of all in the same vein, and they usually are for about a year. I'll change them up every year.
Yeah.
As you've probably seen, like you look at the last 2 years of posters and they all look different. So those are more copy and paste and just kind of replacing some stuff, and not too much difficulty. Pay-per-view posters are the ones that I really enjoy. Those are the ones I get to kind of be a little bit more creative and shine on. With like the Shocktober poster that just came out. I always laugh when people give me crap when they figure out how I do it. Is they're like, well, how do you come up with these ideas? And the answer is I steal it. I go online and I look up like posters that I liked when I was a kid. Like if you look at the Devotion posters, because I've been taking over for them for the last 3 or 4 months. The Pains Given one for November. I literally always wanted to redo that Survivor Series poster. That was the painting with like Lex Luger and the Steiners, and I always wanted to redo that poster. And so I finally got a chance to do it. Like you'll see, if anybody who's like a big poster fan of not just wrestling but of movies and stuff like that, if they look at my posters, they'll clearly see where I'm getting inspiration. The Shocktober poster this year, I saw a picture of the old Halloween Havoc one from 1998. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of a simple poster. I could easily redo something like that. And then, so instead of putting the 2 people up, okay, now I'm going to put the 4 people up, and I'm going to make sure that everything's, I want to make sure that Holodead and Abaddon look like they're kind of facing off but not, and the tag dudes are there, and like so it's a lot of stealing. Long story short. But I try to make it my own and give it a little bit of my own edge. And I don't want anybody to look at it and go, oh, it's a direct ripoff, unless it's meant to be a direct ripoff. Because you always came to the Romero shows, and the first Rocky Horror wrestling show that we did, it was the Rocky Horror Picture Show with a Macho Man sunglasses. That's all it was.
Yeah.
So I mean that was a direct ripoff, because I could do it, and it made myself laugh. But no, yeah, the normal posters, it's more just making sure you have the idea in your head and just making that work, as opposed to I'm gonna slap something together and hope to God it works.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So now, if I'm not mistaken, there was actually kind of a earlier release of the Shocktober poster, but then it had to get changed because of what happened in the Charge and things like that. Was that just kind of like, oh, okay, well, great, I'm glad to get to make a second version of the Shocktober poster? Or
no, usually the pay-per-view posters now, or at least our big event posters, I should say, there's always 2 versions, unfortunately, with me.
Okay.
Because especially with like the Summit, and if it's because I tend to know storylines before they actually happen.
Right.
So I kind of get with Reddick and Yade, and I'll go like, what can I put on there? What can I not put on there? And
make sure you don't spoil or anything and that kind of stuff.
Exactly. We knew ahead of time what was coming up, and So I came up with that idea and I showed it to them. They're like, perfect, but we can't release it yet. It was like, I didn't figure so. So I made for that, and for Milestone, I made what I called teaser posters.
Oh, okay.
Which was just like, if you look at the new Shocktober one and the original, the logo's the same. The pumpkin, the hands, and all that stuff, it's all the same. But I just needed, Matt told me, find a picture of like all the champions. So I found that picture of all of our champions and badly photoshopped it in there just so the Summit had something to put on their website at the moment. And that's really all it was Summit needed something to put out on the website and to put up in their window. And so I just like, I'll make them a teaser, and then I'll make the final version and send that out when we're ready to release everything. And so yeah, that's how that came about. Same with Milestone was, that was that old school poster that I always loved. I always wanted to do was that like that two-tone, but I couldn't release the matches because they hadn't been shown on TV yet. So that became kind of the secondary poster and Matt laughs at me every time I say it now because I'm like, here's the teaser poster. I hate it. And I do. I don't like the original Shocktober one, and I didn't like the original Milestone one that I did. Just because it was so thrown together last minute, and I tried to make it look okay, but it was what it was. I know a lot of people liked the first Milestone one, but I hated it.
Well, all right. It's so of all the posters that you do you have a preference of which ones you just enjoy working on the most? Do you enjoy the charged, or do you enjoy doing like the pay-per-view ones, or the big event ones that Rocky Mountain Pro has? The Milestone, the Shocktober, the Never Broken, etc.
Those the big event pay-per-views, they're always my favorite because like I said, I get to be more creative and I get to have some fun with it. With charge, it's one of those, we're going to do them every month, so I don't want to kind of burn myself out and use all my ideas in 1 year. So it's like, okay, here's a good template that I really like. I'm going to use that for the next 6 months to a year. So, I mean, they're fun. It's kind of cool to, now that we've started to tweak them a little bit, showing the action shots, those are always kind of fun to do. But those are very, I don't want to say cookie cutter, but they're cookie cutter. But yeah, the big event ones, they're the most fun because I get to be creative and I get to look for inspiration and find something different that I can do that nobody else does or that they haven't done in a very long time. So yeah, those are always the fun ones. Like that's why when Manny gave me the opportunity to start taking over Devotions, I was very, very happy because I got to, now it's a monthly thing I get to do. Is like, okay, well, now I got to come up with a Halloween one. Okay, now I got to come up with a Thanksgiving one. Like, I'm already questioning what I'm going to do for next month for Christmas. Like, I have no idea. But it's all I know is it's probably going to be stupid and funny. So, any chance I can put Manny and Vig in a Santa hat, I'm in.
Yeah, especially Big Vig. I could see that. That's funny.
It's gonna be a black Christmas hat for him.
Yeah. So in a way, it's kind of good because it really stretches you. You got your charged one that you are consistent. Rocky Mountain Pro doesn't necessarily have a monthly one. They've got the big ones, and then you got the monthly one. So you kind of got like 3 different tiers of ones you're doing.
Yeah, and then you got like the Romero's ones, which I, and I was doing those more along the lines of the pay-per-view style of something different every time. But Matt was like, oh yeah, they just want something simple. So all right, well, I'll give them something simple. So, between them and the charged ones, they're you'll see them. But I try to make them to the point where if you go to Romero's and you see that post, you go, oh, that's Rocky Mountain Pro. Yeah. So something that the minute you see it, you go, oh, that's what that is. Instead of, that's one thing I've always hated about certain promotions. And I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying certain other companies do that where it's every month it looks entirely different than the one before, and you almost don't remember who it is. Which I like that, you look at Ring of Honor's posters, it's Ring of Honor. You look at, AEW now has their style where you look at their posters, it's an AEW poster. But a lot of indies do we're going to be creative and super different every month, and cool. But if I'm looking for your poster, I can't figure it out. So
But
I want everyone to have that feeling with RMPs where you go, oh, okay, I know who that is.
yeah, and I see that. I would definitely concur that you've got. So, and then speaking of that kind of stuff, do you kind of look and maybe critique other companies, especially like, well, I mean, I hate to, I'm going to pull no punches, but do you look at like a lot of the lucha shows that we have in the area, and do you feel like to me, they feel like they're overcomplicated? Well, I mean, what do you think?
Anyone who does that and says that they don't look and critique other people's posters are full of crap. And it's the same with anything production wise. Like,
Yeah.
Me and JT, we sat and watched the AEW show, and as good as it was, there were a couple production things we sat there and we would just look at each other and groan.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we could do it any better, but we're like, I wouldn't have done that at that moment. But so yeah, definitely poster wise, I do that with everyone's. I'll look at it, and there'll be things I'll take from people's. I'll be like, ooh, I like the way they did that, so I'm going to take that for next time. And but yeah, especially like you said, the lucha shows, and I know that's their style.
Yeah.
But I hate it. It's a freaking eyesore half the time to look at those.
Yeah, and I know when I promoted on the other podcast that I do, I go, I am sorry guys, I'm trying to read this the best I can. And I'm not talking the Spanish part. I'm talking the actual details of it, and I'm like, oh, right. Guys.
It's very difficult, and like I have that problem with. I wish there was a Facebook page for like bad indie wrestling posters, because I would subscribe to that in a second, because that is like my biggest vice is just looking at bad indie wrestling posters. Like, and I'm not saying mine are the greatest thing in the world, but like, if one of these guys could give me a clean cut, I would praise them. If you got these guys who like they have a cut off picture where it cuts people off at the waist instead of putting like a text block or something over there, they just have it there, and you're just like, God, that looks awful. Like, who said that this was a good idea? So when I see stuff like that, it drives me nuts, and it just makes me like, okay, I need to make sure I never do that ever. And if I do, you'll see me beating myself up about it.
Yeah, because I mean, and what's I look at it, and I don't know if you agree with it. When it comes to that kind of flyers, posters, things of that nature, it's to to sell tickets, to advertise for the show, and be eye catching. I mean, eye catching is first. What is this? Yeah. And then they look at it and go, I want to go. So boom, sell a ticket, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I laugh. I get a chuckle out of that on the internet, because you always see people promoting the shows using the posters. And the first thing without question, within the first 3 comments, when is it? Well, it's on the poster.
Yeah.
And that's why I try to make sure all mine have the date clearly presented, or at least you can look at it for 5 seconds and see where it's at, as opposed to, okay, that's the competitor, that's the venue, that's a sponsor. Like, that's the problem. Like, if you can't see the venue and the date within 5 seconds, it's not a good poster, in my opinion.
Right. Oh, yeah, I totally understand. Yeah, and I agree with you. Especially, right now, I'm not even looking at one. For example, like the charged posters. I can just see it in my mind. I says like October, and then it says every single date on it, and it's like, boom. It's just so memorable. I mean, I know that they're there, and it's just like it's so easy to decipher and well, I maybe not be able to go to that show, but I can maybe go to that show, for example, that date or whatever. So
yeah, I prefer doing the monthly ones as opposed to the every week. Those would be a nightmare.
Yeah, because then you have to then another question, when it comes to like the charged ones, how do you choose who goes on? You just kind of rotate, throw a dart at a dartboard, or what?
That's a Reddit call nowadays.
Okay.
It used to be my call. Matt would just tell me like, put it whoever, and I would rotate. I would rotate people out. Like, okay, well, Corrente, he's been on the poster kind of in the last 2 months. I won't put him on this one, and they haven't been on a poster yet. I'll probably put them on, and but that's Reddit's call, and he tells me exactly who he wants on the shows now. And I'm like, all right, cool. That's whatever the boss man says, and that's some people don't like that. Some people like the well, how come they're on posters all the time? Well, because they sell tickets, or they're at training, or they're busting their ass. Like, it's not a it's not a consolation prize, is what Reddick told people, and he's right. You know, you don't get on the poster because, oh, well, you've been at training every week or every month, you know, for a couple months, so we're going to put you on a poster for fun. If you're not going to attract me a viewer, we're not going to put you front and center. You know, and that's just marketing.
Right. So it sounds like Reddick has an alternative, or he has a motive. He has a kind of reason why he chooses who he chooses for those.
Yep.
It sounds like, yeah. Is that the same for well, you know, the big pay-per-view ones, the you know, like the summits and stuff like that. I understand why those are, especially the last Shocktober poster. I mean, that was awesome. I mean, that's like really good for all the matches and stuff like that. But what about the what about the Romeros? Does he pick those ones too, or
no?
Or is that
those I tend to just do just because, you know, like you know, because my thought process is with those, you know, sometimes they put them up, sometimes they don't. 90% of the time they do. But my thought is, if I'm walking into a bar and I see something like that, who's going to be someone that catches my eye? And it's not necessarily always, oh, I want the big jacked up muscle dude like Mario or a Marlin. And I don't always necessarily want, like, you know, the hot chick, like, you know, the Ronnie Winters or the Alligatos or something. Just somebody that's going to make you go, I wonder what that is. Like, I put J.K. Pop on one recently because the picture was cool. They have a distinct look, and anyone who's walking to that bar is going to go pro wrestling, and they're going to see those guys and be like, that's going to be a fun show. You know, and the same with Heidi Howitzer too. I put her on the first one for that new version just because, like, yeah, Heidi's going to catch your attention.
Yeah, especially with all the makeup and Broad Warrior. Yeah, exactly. I see that. Yeah. All right. Well, so you know, also in Rocky Mountain Pro, you do a lot of the other production. I'm assuming you do a lot of the video as well, and so now with Rocky Mountain Pro going to live TV pretty much every week, is it since the last time we like officially talked on the previous version of my podcast? How's that been? Is it like increasing your workload, or, you know, got a lot of great hands working with you? I mean, how's that been going ever since that change?
Oh, especially in the last several months, things have just gotten ridiculously easier for me. I actually, because when the last time we talked, I was kind of single-handedly running the production.
Yeah.
You know, I was helping film when I needed to. I was directing and making sure editing was good and doing all the entrance videos. So I was kind of a one-man band. I've actually since stepped away from production on television almost completely. JT is now running our directing, and he's done an incredible job recently. He comes from a broadcasting background like I do. So anytime you see like the live edits and stuff like that, that's JT's doing, and he's really been killing it on that. He's helping train all of our camera crew, so they know exactly what to do. Austin Reddick is now backstage with us, so he's actually calling camera shots as we go. He's technically directing the entire show from start to finish.
Right.
So you know, and then now we have these new guys, you know, who are helping with cameras and setup and tear down. So I mean, my job has gotten consistently easier. You know, I show up, I'll do the entrance videos, I do pre-tapes, and I'll do some promo packages. But other than that, I focus on commentary now, and I don't worry too much about anything else.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Well, speaking of that, what happened to all the there was seemed to be a good for a while. There was a lot of promo package, a lot of backstage stuff. What happened? Just a change in direction, or kind of got out of it for a little bit, or do you know?
I'm not sure. That's another Reddit call. You know, he wanted to, you know, for, like you said, we were doing those for a while, and I think with scheduling, it just became a pretty much of a conflict to not have to do them as much. I know this coming week we've got a few planned.
Okay.
So it's going to go back and forth. It all depends on scheduling. You know, I'm not going to speak for Matt or Alex what they want to do for next year. But we've talked about playing with the schedule a bit, maybe not going every week, maybe going every 2 or every 3 weeks, but the idea of weekly is still in our heads. So it all comes down to scheduling and like time-wise what we can do, because realistically, we're not a WWE, we're not an AEW. We don't have a dedicated crew to just film a pre-tape and to edit it and get it ready to go to air in 2 hours. We just don't have the ability to do that right now.
Right.
So that's kind of where the in-ring promos have started to become more of a focus, and Reddick and I have talked multiple times about almost going to what the NWA is now starting to redo. Whoever watched the first episode of NWA Power, we've talked about that for months. We should put up a background, a backdrop, and next to the ring, and have people cut promos there instead of doing them backstage. Just little stuff like that. So, the pre-tapes, those will come and go depending on the week. Packages, it's just a matter of making sure we have the good footage to do them. Because I'll take care of those, and I want to start getting back to starting every show with like that old school 2-minute video to highlight last week's episode.
Yeah, and I missed that, because I remember when I first got into Rocky Mountain Pro, it was you always got that summary. This is what happened last week, and it got you pumped and ready to go for this week.
Yeah, and that was a big thing. I always wanted to do those, and when Vince Russo came in, he was big on those, and so we always made sure we had them. But at the same time, we weren't filming every week; we were filming every month. So I had essentially a week to do a different one every time.
Yeah.
But now it's like, I don't have any time, so I have to find time on like a Saturday or a Friday night, and but I don't want to put something out there that's not quality. I've put a couple together that I'm like, okay, this is going to be good, and then I watch it back and go, no one's ever going to see this video because this is awful. So but we're going to get more into the habit of that, and that's just a time management situation.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And like you just said, it allows then too. The trade-off is getting a lot more in-ring promos and also probably even more matches, more ring time. For the 2 hours this week.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've always been more of a fan of. I mean, I like backstage promos. I actually prefer vignettes and skits more than I've ever preferred backstage promos. Which anyone who watched us when Vince was around, that was our bread and butter for a long time. We had good matches, but we had equally good backstage stuff. We joke about it all the time, and Royce and I talk about it every time we're around. Is the barn brawl between him and Mario season 1, where Vince gave me free reign to do whatever I wanted, and when he said that, I just smiled, and Royce just goes, "This is going to be good," because he knew I had some ideas, and just the ridiculous things of the back and forth and the old Western thing, and then cutting, and you just see the golf cart moving at 2 miles an hour. It's the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever done. Probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, that was great. So another thought too is what these promos and things like that. They could get moved to the to the Facebook, to the YouTube channel, and all that stuff like that, and then they just reference them, of course, on the show then.
Definitely, and that's an initiative from Reddick as well. He wants to make the social media more of a must-see type thing. I haven't checked RMP's Facebook in 3 hours. I should go check because they probably put up something.
Yeah.
And so that's what he wants to make more do. And so we've started doing a lot more of those during shows, and they've come off really, really well. I'm very, I get a good chuckle out of all of them. Corey Lyons are always hilarious. Bruce Waynes, who he does them on his own, and are probably some of my favorite things to watch every week. So it's just, I like kind of being different than just having backstage promo or in-ring promos all the time, and just something to keep us on our toes, because even I look at the script every week and I go, we're doing that this week, cool.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, okay. So along with that, you also still have the referee's shirt, I guess you could say. I wanted to say hat, but it's more of a shirt. We see you every once in a while with Rocky Mountain Pro getting in the ring, but we got you right now. Rocky Mountain Pro's got a great group of referees, a core ref, and they ask you probably to fill in when there's not enough staff around. I'm assuming.
Yeah, usually more on house shows because now that I'm doing commentary, I really can't. So yeah, like usually at a Romero's, I'll jump in there if I can, and like one of our little, we have a spot show that's not really going to get used for TV, but we're going to film it anyway. Yeah, okay, I'll jump in. Why not?
But I smell maybe a storyline for Charged. You never know.
With Reddick, you do never know sometimes.
Yeah, but you do get into the ring with one of Rocky Mountain Pro's. I guess it can really call it a sister promotion. That's Respect Women's Wrestling. How's that getting in there and reffing the women?
Oh, I love Respect. Nick Gossert and Matt are in charge of that, and I actually ref at Triple L with Nick Gossert. He's made me his head official at both both promotions.
Yeah.
So technically, I'm the head official for Respect and for Triple L. I love Respect. It's one of my favorite shows every month. Like I'm always looking forward to it, and Gossert and I me and Gossert become very close friends. And to the point where he'll send me matches before he even announces them, going, "What do you think?" And 10 out of 10 is always like, "I can't wait." Like I got dibs on that one. I want that. Because he sends me stuff, and it's always cool. Like he never ceases to amaze me. The people he brings in. Like when we first started, I'd worked with Leva Bates before at Triple L, so when he's like, "Oh yeah, Leva's coming in," I'm like, okay, that's cool. Heather Monroe's coming in. Okay, that's cool. Shotzi, cool. We've worked with them all before. But then when he sends me a message like, "We're getting Ivelisse," it's like, "We're getting who?" Like, yeah. I've been a fan of Ivelisse for a very long time, so to be able to be like, sweet, I get to share the ring with her, that's going to be something special for me. And same with the people like Solo Darling, who I found before she really kind of hit it big, and I was a fan from day one. So for him to be like, "Oh yeah, you get to work with them now," and to be able to say, I get to go to Respect, and it happened for the second time she came out. I was sitting on the ring, and Leva came up, and I didn't expect Leva to remember who I was. And she comes up and gives me a huge hug. She's like, "This is my favorite ref in all of the state," and like. So I'm like, I get to be friends with these people who I watched, and now I'm watching on bigger productions. So yeah, Respect is one of my favorite things to do every month, and it's wild, it's nuts, it's fun, scary at times, you can say, just because you never know how that crowd's gonna be.
That crowd is it's bizarre sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very happy that the Herman's Hideaway staff has been excellent.
Yeah.
When it comes to crowds and stuff like that, they're great. The first show, I had one fan kept trying to grab Leva, so I stomped on his hand.
Yeah.
That was the end of that. But for the most part, Respect's been really kind of calm, which is a bit of a shocker to me, almost.
Yeah, true. I mean, even though a lot of I know Robbie E got a lot of heat, for the first show, but that was good. That was good heat that he got. And then getting the two guys in there last time, the last show, that was good too. So it was kind of fun.
And it is, it's a completely different animal than like what I think most people in Colorado are used to.
Yeah.
To have this all women's promotion with this great talent that's already in the state, but then you bring out the Ivelisses, the Leva Bates, the Holodeads, Ruby Rays. Like I went and sat by the merch table during the last show for Ruby Rays and Simone because I knew Ruby was going to kill her.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is going to hurt, and I want to watch every second of this because this is going to be bad. And it did not disappoint. Those girls beat the crap out of each other, and so it is a different animal, but it's so much fun, and it's Yeah, it's different to watch how they plan matches and do things compared to like just the male counterparts half the time. You can't describe it unless you've seen it.
Mm.
Like, because me and Joel will sit there in the locker room and just listen, and it's just we'll sit there and be like, this is weird. Like, this is awesome how different this actually is.
All right. Well, what about you mentioned at Lucha Libre and Laughs? As the referee there, I think you're probably a little more in tune to be able to hear the running commentary. And anything like really stands out for you that really just cracked you up that the comics had said during a match that you refed?
I can't hear a word they're saying.
Oh, really?
Ironic. No, I can't. Maybe it's just because I'm too focused on what I'm doing. I can hear them say my name every now and then I hear people laugh. I'm like, they said something funny. But I honestly, I don't have a clue half the time because they'll come back and be like, oh, did you hear that? Like, no, I don't hear anything. I can't see past like the third row and I can't hear anything. So it's the weirdest feeling, but I know they said something funny. And like, nothing they've said to me has cracked me up, but I sat in the crowd and watched Anaya versus Fire Ant, and Bryce Rensburg was reffing, and I could hear everything they were saying, and it made me laugh so hard just because they would say something and Bryce would play with them about it. Like he did a 2 count, he threw the hand up, and he kind of points at the crowd and says 2, and they're saying something about oh, he's telling that lady in the crowd she's a 2, and then he looks at another girl and says, you're an 8, call me. And I was like, that's good. I'm like, that's damn good, and that's why Bryce is where he's at. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I met him. He's a nice guy. What about sometimes you get involved in the match per se? How's that feel that the wrestling talent breaking the fourth wall wants to include you in a match in that way?
It's always an honor, man. Like, especially, our local guys, it's always kind of fun because it tells me that they respect me enough. Like, we got into a thing with Curtis and Xander where Curtis ripped my ref shirt off, and so I walked away and grabbed another one and came back and gave him the Hogan spot, which was fun. But Curtis and I have known each other for years, so like that's when he said we're gonna do that, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Finally, we get to do something. But when I get told like, by like Akiku Taro, like, hey, I want you to do this spot in the match with me. I'm like, man, I'm just like an indie ref from Colorado. Like, what do I know? Like, this legend is like asking me to like do a whole spot with him. Like Mike Seidel is a good friend that I have in that company, and he's always making sure that we got a fun spot, and so that but the one I remember distinctly out of all the things was there was that match. It was Kikutaro versus Royce Isaacs, and we were doing a spot where Royce got kicked low, Kikutaro got kicked low, and then I was going to come behind Kikutaro and check on him and make sure he was okay, and he was going to kick me low. He didn't know exactly where I was and full-on mule kicked me as hard as he could.
Yes, I remember this.
and I drop. I collapse. And Royce looks at me and goes, "You're selling really good." And I just look at him and go, "I'm not effing selling." For the rest of the match, I didn't get above my knees because I couldn't move. It was like, this is the most painful feeling. So, but I mean, when you have spots like that, or like, every time I'm in a Kikutaro match, he's always like, "How can we get you involved?" And a lot of those guys are really appreciative of that, and they, and I always ask them after shows, like, what did I do good? What can I do better? And it's always gratifying for me to hear, guys like Mike Seidel, or even at this last show, Simon Grimm. I asked him. He goes, "I'm going to give you the best compliment I can give somebody. I didn't even notice you were there until I needed you." And you hear that the first time, you're kind of like, "Oh, well, okay, cool." But the more you sit there and you hear everybody saying that, you're like, okay, that means I'm doing a good job.
Right.
So anytime one of the wrestlers will tell me that and be like, I honestly didn't even notice until we needed you. And I always take that as a super compliment. And, I always am picking their guys' brains. And everybody usually gives me at least a little something to think about or work on, which I always do and implement it into my next match.
Oh, yeah. Oh wow! I mean, yeah. I mean, like Lucha Libre Laughs is just total fun. It's
Oh,
absolutely
it
fun.
is. It's another one of those shows like I look forward to most of the time.
Yeah, because otherwise and it's mainly because you have to work Nick Gossett, right?
Yeah, good old four finger crosser. No,
uh,
I think he's a brilliant promoter.
yeah.
He found his niche and he's killing it right now. And so yeah, Nick's one of my favorite people. We'll text each other randomly, just not even wrestling stuff, just stuff that'll make each other laugh. And it's a game of who can make each other laugh harder. So
Yeah. All right. Well, Kelly, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap it right there. I think we got a lot of good information. But before I let you go, Rocky Mountain Pro's got also Respect's got a pretty big week coming up here. Tell the listeners though what Rocky Mountain Pro's got coming up this week.
Well, Thursday we will be at the Quarry, as we are almost every Thursday. At 7 p.m. the show starts, but if you want to get there early, we always put on a pre-show match for the fans who show up early. Those are always really kind of fun, and they usually feature the newer talent who you may not see on the TV show. So make sure you always get to the Quarry early on a Thursday night. And then the day after that, we'll be at Herman's Hideaway for Respect. We've got Evilise coming in. Marty Bell is back. One match I'm looking forward to is Solo Darling versus Still Life with Apricots and Pears from Chikara. So it's going to be interesting. There's really no other way to put it. Respect's always a good time. A Rocky Mountain Pro is always a good time. Triple L is always a good time. So yeah, just keep supporting RMP, keep supporting Respect, Triple L, and as well as all the other companies in Colorado. The more Colorado wrestling does good, the more these guys and girls get to go make this a living, and the more that this territory thrives. So I think the whole idea of camps or a war is absolute BS. I've got friends all over the place, and I want everybody to succeed, and everybody should want everyone to succeed. So just support all your companies and come on out to the shows and be on television every week. Why the hell not?
Yeah, sure. You are. Why not? Why not everybody else?
If I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, Kelly, before I let you go, you got any social media to plug for the listeners? If you wanted to get in contact with you or follow up with you or anything like that?
Find me on Facebook, just Kelly Dowdy. I'm not hard to find there. Twitter, it's at KD Productions 87. I have an Instagram that I don't post on. So it's the same. It's KD Productions 87. So just look me up on there. But if anyone wants to get a hold of me, Twitter and Facebook is probably the best way to do it.
All right, awesome. Well, once again, Kelly, thank you for coming on RMP Radio, and be hanging with you for this week.
Awesome. Thank you, Artie.
Once again, a big thank you for Kelly Dowdy for coming on to this episode of RMP Radio and talking shop, talking flyers, talking posters, talking production, talking refereeing, all kinds of fun stuff. Like I said, the man of many talents and many hats and all kinds of promotions, as well as, of course, his home promotion of Rocky Mountain Pro. Well, let's get this episode wrapped up, but first, let's pay some bills like they used to say back in the day. You want to get some great merchandise of your favorite Rocky Mountain Pro superstars and talent, head over to rmpwrestling.com and click on the merchandise link. Get all kinds of great selections to choose from there. In honor of Kelly Dowdy, how about picking up how about a Charge shirt? You can get the actual Charge TV logo shirt there from Rocky Mountain Pro. You can also go into Amazon and just doing a search for Rocky Mountain Pro, and that should allow you also to get into the merchandise of all the shirts and all kinds of other great things, hats and hoodies and pop sockets and all kinds of fun things there you can get right there. As for upcoming events that we got coming up for Rocky Mountain Pro, of course, Thursday night, almost every Thursday night, that's the Charged TV tapings. from the quarry at the Jefferson County Fairgrounds in Golden, Colorado. You want to find out all the dates or even purchase your tickets, you can at rmpwrestling.com and clicking on the events link right there. You want to watch Rocky Mountain Pro, just in case you're not in the area or something comes up with your schedule or whatever, simple as going over to Fight TV. You can also watch it on the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Rocky Mountain Pro. You can also find it on impactplus.tv, the youtube.com/Rocky Mountain Pro, as well as you can also find the videos on the Facebook link as well. This upcoming week, of course, like Kelly said, for Rocky Mountain Pro and interest to Rocky Mountain Pro, The Charge on Thursday, and then Respect Women's Wrestling from the Herman's Hideaway on Friday there. So it should be a great, fun time for wrestling this weekend. You want to follow us on social media. Everything stems from rmpwrestling.com, and all your social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, they all are The Rocky MTN Pro, and that once again is The Rocky Mike Tango November Pro. Well, I want to thank you all for listening to this episode of RMP Radio, where pro wrestling is elevated.